with a continued celebration minutes ago, the raising of the NFL championship pennant. And then a champion's welcome as the Bears' 86th edition return to Soldier Field for their opener today against the Cleveland Browns. A crowd of 66,000 plus sold out at Soldier Field. A crisp, clear Chicago football afternoon, temperature 60 degrees. Hello, everyone. Dick Henberg with Merlin Olsen. And this is the 67th NFL year. We haven't been at all of them, but 10 now for us together. And appropriately, the Super Bowl champions and a charter member, the Chicago Bears, best in the NFL last year, meet the Cleveland Browns, best of the AFC Central, and they've made some changes.
Well, Dick, it's not logical, you'd think, if you have the best defense in football and you've dominated, to make changes, but the Bears have done exactly that. Buddy Ryan is gone. Vince Tobin is the new ringmaster of the Bears defense, and he has kept the defense under wraps through the preseason. They're supposed to unwrap the package today. Everyone is waiting to see what it looks like.
I know you're excited about that, as well as the fact that Cleveland Browns were those two 1,000-yard rushers last year, Biner and Mack, and yet they're going to change offensively.
I think a more realistic change for Cleveland. They can beat the average teams, the poor teams, with the running game. But to beat the good teams, they've got to have a passing game. Lindy Infante has been hired as the offensive coordinator to see if he can add balance to the Browns' attack, and we'll find out about that today, too.
Well, if 22-year-old Bernie Kosar had stayed at the University of Miami instead of signing with the Browns 2 years ago, he would have played a college game against Florida yesterday. Instead, he's going to face the monsters of the Midway.
Maybe no quarterback in football has ever been given as much responsibility with as little training as Bernie Kosar. At the same time, no one in this stadium has the kind of pressure today that Kosar has.
Marty Schottenheimer, 8-8 last year. Mike Ditka's Bears were 8-8 just a couple of years ago.
And Ditka looks at Schottenheimer and his Bears, and he sees his team of a few years ago improving and trying to find themselves coming on. Schottenheimer, one of the fine young coaches in the NFL, certainly has proved himself to be a real champion.
And he goes against Mike Ditka, NFL Coach of the Year last year. They lost only once in Miami. We're set to go as Matt Barr hits it end over end to the far sidelines. Thomas Sanders, number 20 for the Bears. He's at the 20, and the season is officially underway. The Bears in possession at their own 24-yard line, and Jim McMahon brings the Bears team onto the field. Offensively, there's that front wall. Van Horn, Thayer, Hilgenberg, Bortz, and Covert, their captain and best of the five. Marjoram and Gold are the wide receivers, with the veteran Emery Moorhead at tight end. McMahon, the quarterback, with Matt Suey, the big fullback. The great Walter Payton, his sweetness behind him as the running back. Payton 140 yards from 15,000, the all-time NFL rusher, and just a couple of rushing touchdowns away from becoming the third man to hit that 100 mark and running into the end zone. McMahon from the 24. Payton in motion, the flip to Suey. The Browns shut him off after a 2-yard gain. The white jersey Cleveland defense, one of the best in the NFL, and they figure to be even better despite the loss of Don Rogers. Camp with Golick on the nose, a Pro Bowler, the veteran Carl Hairston on the outside. The linebackers, Chip Banks, been back in camp only a week. Eddie Johnson, the spirit of the defense. Griggs from Philadelphia, and Clay Matthews. At the corners, Minifield and Dixon. Dixon has a thigh bruise. Gross and Rockins replaces Rogers at safety. They figure to test Dixon early. Marjoram on his side at the moment. 2nd down 8. Suey. A couple, and that's all, as the center of that Brown defense tough on the first 2 plays of the game. Chip Banks spearheading that defensive charge.
Dick, Mike Ditka said if Banks can come in and play after 1 week's practice, he's going to blow the whole theory of training camps. I think there are a lot of players cheering for Chip Banks today.
There he goes. He takes a breather in a passing situation. The ball at the 28, 3rd down and 6. Marjoram and Lou Barnes, the rookie, are wide right. Galt to the left with Dennis Gentry. Out of the shotgun, McMahon. Oh, the ball gets away back to the 10-yard line. This could be big trouble. It goes toward the end zone. Could be a touchdown if Cleveland can cover. It goes out of the end zone, and that will be a safety.
Now, wait a minute. Not officially signaled yet. No one got possession of that ball before it went out of the end zone. I believe the ruling will be safety, but we've got to let the officials sort it out down there.
No signal as yet from Ben Dreith, the referee. Easy to spot the dark hat, Dreith. Schottenheimer knows whatever it is, it's good for the Browns and not for the Bears.
Reminiscent of the start of the Super Bowl, where the Bears fumbled early in that game and gave New England a chance to score. New England couldn't capitalize. Well, now they're talking to the replay officials upstairs to take a look at the replay. Well, we haven't had any replays of what happened on the field.
There are the men on the field, Ben Dreith with his crew, and then the instant replay official.
Here is the replay. The snap right over the shoulder of McMahon. It didn't look like McMahon was ready.
See if he had possession before he went out.
Now the question is, does he have possession before he went out of the end zone? And from that replay, it would appear that he may have indeed been able to get that ball and control it while he was in the end zone.
That angle, though, didn't really give total evidence. Al Gross, the safety from Arizona, was the man who came up with a football.
Here's another look at it, Dick, and see if it does give us a better look at it.
He tucks it there. He's in the end zone.
I believe he is fully in the end zone before he, unfortunately, hard to see
Cleveland
through the body.
Possessed the football before it went out. It's touchdown.
So the use of the instant replay on the third play from scrimmage in the new year already. The new rule in the National Football League, use of a instant replay official, has given the Browns a touchdown on an otherwise very confusing play.
Dick, in 31 games where they used the instant replay, they only reversed 2 plays. They would have reversed another one, but they couldn't get a hold of the officials. And here, within seconds of our opener, we have a critical call that results in a touchdown for the Browns.
Matt Barr to try the point after. And the Browns stun this Soldier Field crowd as they convert a Bear mistake into 7 points with just 1:45 gone.
Here, Hilgenberg snaps, and McMahon had no idea that ball was coming. That created the turnover here.
And eventually, Al Gross covering the ball for the touchdown. Going back to the instant replay official, there was some delay there. Now, they can replay the picture as it is seen by you live. They have a device there to
VHR,
right?
Whatever.
And so they're making that decision, and then perhaps confirmed also by our replay. This is Dennis Gentry in the open at the 30, and he's all the way to the 40. A foot race, and they're not going to catch Dennis Gentry all the way for a touchdown. Dennis Gentry, the fifth-year player from Baylor University, the mark of a great team. They fall behind 7-0 on a fumble and get the touchdown right back on the kickoff return.
It looked like Gentry was running right into the middle of the pack here. There are several Browns who have a chance at him. There's one right there. Harper gets a shot at him. Another missed tackle. 2 missed tackles, but just good leg strength by Gentry, who then proceeds to pull away from the pack and run it on into the end zone.
Kevin Butler, point after to tie. Steve Fuller will hold. And 21 seconds make that 19 seconds after Al Gross covers a fumble in the end zone for a Browns score. Gentry gets it back for the Bears.
Cleaver, did you send those galoshes to Cleveland? They didn't get there.
Yes, Mr. Reliable. Air Express, as per your instructions.
Which company did you use?
Why? Aren't they all the same?
Hold it. If you'd used Federal Express, you wouldn't be having this problem. Come with me. You see, Federal Express isn't the same as everybody else because today it takes much more. For instance, we have computers in our vans.
Oh!
so our couriers know instantly when there's a pickup.
I see.
And at our stations, we track every package and can tell you its exact status within 30 minutes or your money back.
Is that right?
And we have the most advanced communication system in the business.
I see.
So we can give you the information you need quickly. This makes us more reliable.
We see.
Next time, send it Federal Express, because all air express companies are not the same.
Reliable. I like that an Air Express company.
Yes, Mr. Reliable.
In 1986, every NFL game you watch on NBC Sports, every 10 minutes you will be updated on all the other scores. As you can see in the early going, no reports of other scores. We've already had 14 points here in Chicago.
Weren't we supposed to save some fireworks for the end of this game, Dick?
And a kickoff by Butler. Drives it to Fontenot. Wynn catches it. Fontenot at the 6. And he cannot get back to the 20. Dumped at the 18-yard line. Ron Rivera and Dave Duerson in on the hit. Dan Raines there as well. Well, since there's been no other scoring, a bit of history today, Merlin Olsen. The touchdown by Al Gross then becomes the first ever instant replay touchdown in the NFL. It took 67 years.
And here is the replay that makes history. You see McMahon getting a shot at it, the ball bouncing into the end zone, but Al Gross there in time to cover the ball, drop that shoulder to have possession before he went out of the end zone.
Ozzie Newsome in motion. Bernie Kosar. Dumped is Kevin Mack, who rushed for 1,104 yards last year to break Jim Brown's Cleveland rookie record, and William the Refrigerator Perry made the tackle.
Perry has really come on as a defensive player. You see him there in the middle of the line. 9 tackles last week, simply overpowering Babb on that play. Grabs Kevin Mack like he's a toy and throws him to the ground.
Perry somewhere between 310 and 330 pounds. 2nd and 16. Browns don't want to be in the long yardage situation, and there was contact before the snap. May have been Steve McMichael. Was he drawn off? Let's go back to the Gentry touchdown.
Start offense,
Dan
number
Fike
69.
charged with being offside. Let's go back quickly and look at that touchdown run, because that was an exciting play. 2 missed tackles. Harper, number 23, will miss the first one as he comes up inside. Keep it going, fellas. There we go, right there. Harper is going to miss one right there, and then watch Felix Wright coming in from the top. All right, turn it loose. 2 defensive backs. Matt Barr also having a chance at him there, but that's one of the areas in which the Browns have wanted to improve their performance and have improved. But boy, that's about as big a special teams play as you're going to get against it during the season.
Gentry, who ran one back 94 yards for a touchdown against the Lions to close out last year. The penalty was against the Browns for illegal procedure, and they cannot move the football. Mike Singletary. He's a throwback to the Butkus days when he dominated the middle of that Chicago defense. Singletary, a Pro Bowler. And here is that Browns offense. Babb at center, Farron and Fike the guards, Bolden and Risen the tackles. They average 280 pounds. Ozzie Newsome, an all-pro at tight end. Greer and Slaughter, 2 new wide receivers. With the backs behind Bernie Kosar. Mack and Biner both rushed for over 1,000 yards last year. Nothing so far in this first possession. 3rd and long. From the Cleveland 12. Kosar in trouble. Richard Dent, the Super Bowl most valuable player. He led the NFL with 17 sacks last year, and it doesn't take him long to wrap up his first this year.
Now, Mike Ditka has been rattling the Bear cage these last few weeks. One of the people that he accused of loafing was Richard Dent. Well, Dent has shifted gears today, in from the outside, over the top of Ricky Bolden, and throws Bernie Kosar right on his back.
Jeff Gossett with his heels on the end line. Lou Barnes, the rookie from Oregon, back at the Bear 45. Kick is short. Takes a Browns bounce. Gently. Barnes at the 45, 50, and to the 43, and hammered hard.
Too bad we can't get any action going in this game, Dick.
Wow. Scott Nicholas with a cracking tackle and a timeout at Soldier Field. Bears in Browns territory.
Bears have first and 10.
Bears, after the punt return, 12 yards of a 52-yard kick, have it first down at the Cleveland 43. Marjoram in motion. McMahon to throw. Over the middle, wide open, Matsui, and a first down inside the 35-yard line, and a flag is down, and we may have a late hit
Reggie
against
Camp.
the Browns.
Number 96, Reggie Camp, coming in from his left defensive end position with a late hit on McMahon. Flag quickly down.
Personal foul, running into the quarterback. That's 15 yards and a first down.
Reggie Camp, here he comes, number 96.
Watch him from the right-hand side of your screen. The ball clearly away, and although Kemp is almost on the ground and almost on his knees, it appeared that he could have rolled the other way and gotten away from McMahon's legs. That's not the kind of play that will endear you to a quarterback or the quarterback's teammates.
Matsui with that catch, 200 receptions in his fine career out of Penn State. Nowhere close to Walter Payton, who is the current leader on this club with 422 starting the season. First down at the Browns 18. We're tied at 7. 10 minutes yet to play in the first quarter. And Camp, trying to make amends for that last penalty, is too eager and will pick up 5 more. Unless drawn offside. Officials have had more huddles already than either team.
They've got some pressure out there today.
Defense 96 came across and made contact. 5 yards.
Of course, the question being asked was, did anyone move? And as you can see from the picture, the only one to move was a very embarrassed Reggie Camp. And I think that happens frequently. You want to try and do something to make up for what you know was not a good play, a dumb play in that case, that has given the Bears outstanding field possession. You come back and make a second mistake.
Redskins take the early lead against Philadelphia. Field goal, Green Bay leading Houston by 3. First and 5. McMahon. Oh, right in the arms of the Cleveland Browns' Chip Banks. And Banks couldn't hold it. He had to be surprised that ball was thrown so cleanly right to his numbers.
Perhaps one of the side benefits of not being in camp. I mean, I think he'd have caught that ball ordinarily.
49ers have a touchdown lead against Tampa Bay. Atlanta leading New Orleans 7-0. Our 10-minute ticker. Every 10 minutes you'll be brought right up to date.
Look at Banks. Lower part of your, or middle of your screen, and that ball right through his arms. Well, I tell you, what an opportunity missed.
Banks, who has 5 career interceptions, it's 2nd down and 5. Suey dragged down. Matthews got him from the backside when the front wall held up the charge at the 10-yard line. Will bring up 3rd and short. And thus far, Walter Payton without a carry.
But an illustration of the strength of that Bear forward wall. What appeared to be a very nothing play, almost 5 yards on that gain, and they just pushed the Cleveland defense right back. 3rd and very short. Maybe this is Payton's chance.
3rd down and 2 at the 10. Payton indeed. And he has the first down at the 6-yard line. Clay Matthews finally made the tackle. And Payton, a money player, gets some big yards.
And you like to run in behind your strength, behind Bortz, who's pulling on that play, and Jimbo Covert. Good block by 26, Matsui. And, of course, the great Walter Payton, who knows how to use his body so well. I'll tell you, the thing that amazes me is the kind of strength he still, in his 12th year, attacks the defense.
6 yards from taking the lead at 7-all. Payton with a 3, maybe better. Anthony Griggs, Hanford Dixon make the tackle. And here he comes, number 72, the refrigerator, William Perry, into the backfield. You know, when he was in grade school, the legendary now Perry actually won the lead in Swan Lake, the ballet Swan Lake. He played the lake.
Well, the other thing we'll have to watch is the Browns are countering with a big man of their own. Dave Pizzulli, who is ordinarily a backup nose tackle, is in as a linebacker, and I believe that what he will do is square off with the Fridge and go exactly where he goes.
The Fridge in motion. Scary. Payton. Touchdown. 99 touchdowns rushing for Walter Payton.
The Browns' strategy was not bad, however. Pizzulli was able to negate Perry at the line, but Walter Payton just too much as he ran right through two tacklers to go over into the end zone.
Jim Brown, the great Cleveland Brown runner, 106 rushing touchdowns, the NFL record. John Riggins, the Diesel, with 104, and Payton, undoubtedly this year, will set a new standard, now has 99. Butler's try for point out of Fuller's hole. And the Super Bowl champions have the lead for the first time. A flag is down on the extra point. Bears go 43 yards in 6 plays.
Against the defense, the point will stand.
Defense lined up in the neutral zone. 31. Points good. 5 yards on a kickoff.
And we have a timeout with 7 minutes, 24 seconds remaining in the opening period in Chicago. The Bears 14, the Browns 7. Now the Bears' vaunted defense holding, not only holding the Browns, but pushing them back near their own goal line. The punt carried back by Barnes to the 43-yard line. It took only 6 plays for Payton to get in the end zone and a 14-7 Chicago lead. Butler to kick it off. Skids one into the wedge. Picked off by Scott Nicholas, a linebacker, and he's dropped at the 30-yard line. Let's go back to the play. A meeting of 72s.
Watch this now as Perry comes in motion and will freeze it right there. That's Pizzulli coming in from the outside, and he is going to negate Perry at that point. But Payton will continue on up and actually break 2 tackles. That's Griggs, 53, and number 29, Hanford Dixon. Now, that was actually good strategy by the Browns, but you can't overcome the talent of the great Walter Payton, who goes on into the end zone.
Ernest Biner sent way out to the right, and then Ozzie Newsome in motion. Kozar to throw. Has a man and completes to the far side at the 40-yard line to Webster Slaughter. Slaughter, the rookie from San Diego State and the number 2 draft pick of the Browns in the past year. He teams now with Terry Greer from Alabama State from the CFL. 2 new wide receivers. It's a young team.
And we mentioned the kind of pressure on Bernie Kosar today. Of course, that's a little bit deceptive in a sense that Greer has played 6 years in the CFL, so he is not truly a man without experience.
Not only played, but starred in the CFL, set some records. He was all CFL 4 times at Toronto. First down play at the 41. Big hole for Ernest Biner, and he crashes to the 50. Biner with 9 more. Make that Kevin Mack. 34 with a quick charge, and Dan Hampton finally chased him down.
Perhaps we can see what's going on in there. You see Singletary calling audibles for the defense, but he comes up inside to try and take on Ricky Boland, and Kevin Mack just makes Ernest Biner just makes a nice adjustment to get back into the hole, make a nice gain on that play.
Tough to track. They both have a 4 in their number. Kevin Mack 34 and Ernest Biner 44. 2nd and 1. Biner. Nothing there at all. Stopped right at the 50-yard line and sent on his way toward the Wisconsin border. Then minute ticker. Philadelphia still trails Washington by 3. Rams and St. Louis no score. Houston takes the lead against Green Bay. Detroit trails Minnesota 3-0. San Francisco jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead at Tampa Bay. Atlanta leads at New Orleans 7-0. Those are the other early games today. 3rd down, a long one. Bears with 7 men on the line of scrimmage. Biner trying to get outside. Maybe with that second effort has the first down, but it took some clever running by Ernest Biner to even get the yard plus. They teamed last year, only the third in NFL history from the same backfield to gain 1,000 yards each, joining Franco Harris, Rocky Bleier, that marvelous tandem for the Steelers in '76, and back to Zonka and Mercury Morris at Miami. A first down for Cleveland. On the Bears 48. 14-7 Chicago. 4.5 minutes remaining in this first period. Over the middle, open is Newsome. And the tight end of the Browns has a first down at the Chicago 34. Gary Fensick tripped him up after a 14-yard gain.
A chance for you to watch young Bernie Kosar responding very well to the pressure. Watch Dent coming in right here. Kosar knows where the open man is, gets the ball out very quickly. Sidearm delivery, and I got to believe that sometime that's going to get him in trouble, but it certainly didn't hurt him there.
So Ozzie Newsome now has caught a pass in 99 straight games. First down from the 34 of Chicago. Kosar, that could be a lateral, doesn't make any difference. Wilbur Marshall is going to go for a Chicago touchdown. 56 yards for Marshall.
In Chicago, they said it was just a matter of time until Wilbur Marshall would be taking charge. Here he is, right in the center of your picture. Now watch him as well, you won't see it yet. You see him right there. What a great play by Wilbur Marshall.
That ball was a lateral from our perspective.
It looked to be a lateral, and that's the kind of thing that I know that Lindy Infante has talked to Bernie Kosar about, not just flicking that ball away.
Butler to try the point after, and an explosive first quarter at Soldier Field. 21-7 Chicago. Let's go back and examine the Wilbur Marshall play.
Wilbur Marshall right here in the middle of your screen. Now watch him very quickly gets outside. He is coming on the blitz. Sees the receiver, reacts to the ball, and that's just a poor pass by Kosar, who thought he could flick the ball out there. But what a great reaction by Wilbur Marshall.
Well, it's been a highlight show in Chicago. Let's see what's happening elsewhere.
All right, Dick, at Green Bay, trailing 3-0, Houston mounts a 69-yard, 13-play drive, capped as Larry Moriarty wins this race to the flag for a 3-yard touchdown, and the Oilers, with Jerry Glanville beginning his first full season as their head coach, take a 7-3 lead to the second.
All right, thanks, Bob. Here in Chicago, 58 matches the yardage. Wilbur Marshall goes 58 yards with that interception of a lateral pass and a touchdown. What a marvelous reaction. Look at Marshall. He's tied up with a defensive tackle, Bolden, reacts to the ball, makes a one-handed catch, and then outruns Kevin Mack. There's Mack back, and he is not gaining a bit on Wilbur Marshall, 6'1", 225-pounder from Florida. And the Bear defense, needless to say, so dominant last year, and their presence felt, and in this case, for 7 quick points, already by the Browns today.
Now, we talked about the changes in the Bear defense. They have not changed one thing. They are still on top of you right from the word go.
Butler sends a low kick, and it's bouncing toward the sidelines and goes out of bounds for the penalty. And they'll have to kick it over. The wind is blowing from the northwest, and Butler, who knows the very tricky currents, aerial currents here in Chicago along the lake, not trying to defy the wind and kick it high, trying to kick it low and drive it through.
Now you see those boats in the background. That's what you do if you don't have a ticket for this game.
At halftime, our new NFL 86 team will bring you up to date on all the latest scores and news from around the league, plus the Los Angeles Raiders music video, Silver and Black Attack. That's all coming your way at halftime. Your host, Bob Costas, and his fine team enjoyed Frank DeFord's first presentation, and he feels the Bears might well be the team for the next decade. And Paul McGuire, Well, what can you say about Paul?
Well, we can laugh because we love him.
We'll have fun with him all year long. From the 30, and this time he does kick it end over end. Down to 89, McNeil. He is the ice cube.
Look out.
Woo. And out across the 35 goes Gerald McNeil, 143 pounds, McNeil, from the USFL. And he is going to have a lot of fans in Cleveland. You have to like him. He would fit in the refrigerator's jersey, and you wouldn't even know he was there.
143 pounds, and they say that's not cheating either. I watched him climb on the scale in the locker room, and there's the other end of the scale right there.
The fridge has about 200 pounds on it.
Fridge could put him in his pocket, couldn't he, Dick?
I think so. 36-yard line. The Browns move the ball effectively until the interception on their last possession. Now trail 21-7. Inside handoff to Biner, and Perry stacks it up with help from the secondary. Otis Wilson was there. Mike Richardson, too.
When I talked to Lindy Infante about his use of the one-back system, and he likes to use one back, put the other back, and that's going to be Biner that he'll use in motion, put him out as a wing, put him way outside as a wide receiver. And you've got to understand one thing. In order to play that position, you've got to be very unselfish. Biner, who made his 1,000 yards last year, will not make 1,000 yards this year because of the way he's being used. They very unselfishly accepted that new position.
Here's a case in point. Only Mack in the backfield behind Kozar. Biner split to the left. The throw and complete to Webster Slaughter, and a first down at the 48-yard line, and a penalty flag is down.
Well, Mike Babb trying to keep Dan Hampton out of there, and that's what Marty Schottenheimer said would be the key. You've got to keep Hampton out of there, but he didn't want Babb to do it by hanging on to him.
So the 10-yard gain nullified by a 10-yard penalty against Babb, who played his college ball at the University of Texas.
10 yards, second down.
Mike Babb, by the way, Dick, really spent a lot of time in the offseason trying to improve his play by working on his feet. Has always been tremendously strong and used to try and overwhelm people with his strength, but now is trying to use his agility and position. And that would not be good news. Ozzie saying, I've got a problem with that ankle. You see him checking the stability of it. Boy, they sure need him. He's as fine a tight end as has played the game.
Second and 20 now for the Browns. Kozar over the middle. Oh, what a catch. Brian Brennan with a very difficult catch in traffic. Brennan, the former top receiver for Doug Flutie at Boston College, has 12 yards, and that'll bring up 3rd and 8.
The Browns kept 6 wide receivers, and one of the reasons because no one really stepped out and took control. They also know they've got to have some bodies. These are not big receivers, the majority of them. That's probably the slowest of the receivers, but you can see right there why they kept him on their roster. He can catch anything.
Ball at the 39-yard line. Browns must get past their 46 for the first down. Less than 2 minutes left, first quarter. Kozar under pressure. Dumps it off to Biner. He's got some running room. What a move at the 50. Biner at the 40 and out of bounds at the Bears' 38-yard line. Ernest Biner with an all-pro move in the open field to turn a 7-8-yard run into one good for 23.
This is exactly what Lindy Infante was hoping to be able to do. To take Ernest Biner out of a set where everyone knew that you were going to run with 2 backs, give him some room to run. He's into the secondary. That's like a long handoff. He just blows by number 45, Gary Fensick, and using his excellent speed, gets out of bounds with the first down. Watch the block right here. He gets just a little bump in there, gets away. That was Farron, Paul Farron, giving him some room to get out on that pattern.
Richard Dent, though, showed his speed. He was the man who chased him down from behind for the tackle. Trailing 21-7. Incomplete to Terry Greer. And let's check that 10-minute ticker. Philadelphia now leads the Redskins 7-3 in the first. The Rams in St. Louis still scoreless. Houston 7-3 at Green Bay. 3-0 Minnesota over Detroit. San Francisco a 2-touchdown lead. Atlanta leading New Orleans by 7. Here it's 21-7. The Bears leading the Cleveland Browns. 1:39 remaining in the first quarter. 2nd and 10 from the Bears' 38. So 2 of the 3 possessions for the Browns, they have penetrated Chicago's half of the field. But on the last occasion, the interception by Marshall led to a touchdown. This one completed right back to Kozar, who gets a yard on the play to the 37-yard line. So Kozar catches his own pass for a yard.
Does he get credit for a reception?
Yes, he does.
Now, I've got to believe that this is a nightmare for a quarterback. He can't throw the ball again. What do you do with it? The ball batted right back to him, and now he's got to do something with it. He looked like he wanted to go to the ground. He did pretty quick, but he actually got back beyond the line of scrimmage.
Wilbur Marshall was there again. It's 3rd and 9.
With Gary Danielson out with a broken ankle, they certainly don't want to take any risks with Kozar.
Right, Danielson went down in the last preseason game at Los Angeles against the Raiders. Kozar over the middle, incomplete, intended for Clarence Weathers. Mike Singletary on the coverage.
Schottenheimer wondering if maybe that hit wasn't just a little early. Singletary timing it out beautifully. Was able to make the bump just as that ball arrived.
Interestingly, apparently not going to go for the punt here at the Bears 37, the ball inside the 38. They're going to go for it on 4th and 9.
Well, they're kind of in between here. They don't gain that much by a punt, and it's a little far for a field goal.
Well, they challenged the best defense in the game. And need 9. Good protection. Kozar to Fontenot.
Oh,
it's going to be close.
He didn't make it, Dick.
He's at the 28-yard line, and he may be just a foot short.
Very uncharacteristic of Bernie Kosar. They haven't really asked him to roll out that much. He is not a running quarterback. He's a stationary quarterback, but he certainly does a job here. Feels the pressure. I don't know. It may have even been a planned rollout. Kosar getting to the outside, and Fontenot trying to catch his balance. Had that ball been thrown in front of him, he could have had a first down, Dick.
Well, it's a pleasure for us to be back with you here on NBC, and the next time we have some time, we're going to show you the largest ring ever made for a championship player. That is the refrigerator's ring. After the next play, we'll show you.
That's a bracelet for some people. I want to
me it is. On my thumb, it's loose. First down, Bears at their 28. McMahon to Payton. Walter Payton earns 3 yards. Here's a look at Perry's ring and gives you an idea of the Chicago Bears, the Diamonds. And there on this side, you can see team down below, the score of the Super Bowl game, the Super Bowl 20 logo. On the other side, the name of the player, the record, 18-1 record, and down in the bottom, attitude. That is my ring compared to the size of Perry's. Only Bronco Nagurski, who had a 22-23 size ring, required one that large.
Interesting that Mike Ditka would select those 2 words, and only those 2. Team and attitude. Kind of a reflection of the way he feels about the game.
Well, the team has the right attitude and the right score. 21-7, end of the first quarter. Coordinator. And as he talks to his players, they're reminded immediately of that Super Bowl success. Those twin X's up there, Super Bowl 20, reminding his team.
On the other side of the field, we said that they had a new offensive coordinator in Cleveland. They actually technically have a new defensive coordinator, although Dave Adolph filled that role when Marty Schottenheimer's named head coach in '84, left the team last year, returns as the defensive coordinator. He will, however, be running Marty Schottenheimer's defensive system, so that is a continuous process for the Browns.
Adolph in San Diego with the Chargers last year. 2nd down and 7 as we open the second quarter, and it's Walter Payton blasting to the 39 and very close to a first down before 3-time Pro Bowler Chip Banks. Number 56 can make the tackle.
Mike Ditka says he wants to give Walter Payton a little less work this year, but one of the problems is that Payton doesn't want to come out of the lineup. He loves to play the game of football, and when you can play it that well, I don't blame him at all.
Now, you saw him at practice yesterday. Payton skipping rope. One of the most incredible scenes, you know how you skipped rope as a kid and you get someone else to invite you, the 2 of you would skip to the same rhythm? He invited the refrigerator in there to see Payton and Perry skipping rope in the same rhythm, and that's when Ditka blew the whistle and said, we better start practice.
But you see the measurement. Now watch as these chains are moved back to the sideline. One of the things that they have done this year, and I think it's a very good safety maneuver, is to move the chain gang back away from the immediate sideline. Look where they set up the chains now. Are they going to do it?
Not right on the line, but back up at about a foot.
No, they are setting it on the line. Okay, well, now they're back a little bit. Anyway, yeah, not very far. There you see them. Now they're moving it back.
On the first down, it's Payton, no gain at the 40-yard line. Payton, who says he doesn't care who breaks his record for most rushing yards in the NFL, except he wants it to be his son.
Let's go back. Now you can see the chain gang moved back about halfway in that white area, which is supposed to be a no man's land. And of course, very often players run to the sideline, or running out of bounds on the sideline would get tangled in those markers. And we've had some injuries. Bubba Smith, for example, was hurt tangling with one of those chains a number of years ago. So that's something the NFL has done to try and protect the players.
Payton got a couple when it looked as if he was stopped for no gain. McMahon, good maneuverability, and an interesting pass attempt to Tim Reitman as tight end as McMahon just shovel passed it forward. Matthews and Griggs around Reitman, the tight end.
One of the things that the Cleveland Browns feel they have improved this year is their ability to pressure the quarterback. That man right there, 56, Banks, led the team in sacks last year, but they feel that Sam Clancy will help them this year. Interesting pass by McMahon, as you said, Dick. He's unhappy even when he flicks a throwaway pass and can't get it completed.
Now McMahon only one completion for 9 yards. Has 4 wide receivers in: Barnes, Gentry, Marjoram, and the long ball threat, Willie Gold. Gentry in motion. Over the middle. Payton, first down at the 50-yard line. They needed 8, he got 9. Dixon and Matthews with a tackle for the Browns, and Chicago here early in the second quarter has a first down at midfield with a 21-7 lead.
There is Clay Matthews, man, in on the tackle. You see him dropping in the middle of your picture. Has a little bit of a knee problem. They're concerned about him. He gets up, and you see that movement by Payton, and that marks the great backs, their ability to change direction. He looked like a dancer, back and forth so quickly. Body always under control.
He is a dancer, and was even going back to Jackson State when he won a Soul Train contest. Payton, 5, 10, 12 more yards for Walter Payton. Tom Thayer with a fine block as we check our 10-minute ticker. No significant change, although Houston picks up another touchdown to take a 14-3 lead in the second. And here it's 21-7 Chicago. The Bears with the lead and the ball. And Walter Payton continuing to rack up those large numbers. What a great, great player he has been and apparently will continue to be. First down at the 38. Payton, not much there. Here in Chicago, 21-7 Bears. Let's go to NFL 86.
Dick, in the second quarter at Green Bay, the Oilers take a 14-3 lead on the Packers on this 29-yard beauty from Warren Moon to Butch Woolfolk. They're without their #1 draft choice, quarterback Jim Everett from Purdue, but if Moon continues to throw like that, maybe they won't miss him. Back to Dick and Merlin.
All right, Bob, Warren Moon and that Houston team, many feel they could be one of the surprises of this 86 year. That great offensive line, young, all #1s. And Moon, superb athlete himself. Second down and 9, Chicago. Payton in motion. McMahon looking for him. He's got him. Oh, Payton had to turn back for the ball, trying to go upfield and still reach back and pick it off, and unsuccessful. Well, Merlin Olsen, the Browns, with Anthony Griggs now playing inside as a starter, and Tom Cousineau let go on waivers this past week.
Shock to a lot of people, Dick, as Briggs really was coming on, and I talked to Marty Schottenheimer about his reasoning, because it's obvious that Cousineau, who was picked up quickly by San Francisco, can still play in this league. But he said, I don't believe that you can keep a man on the roster if you take him out of a starting assignment, especially when you've got young players on the bench who are going to improve, and you have to cut one of them to keep him. Well, that was his reasoning in this situation. I think the $500,000 salary may have had something to do with it, too.
3rd and 9. Gentry. Dennis Gentry. He's one of the changes represented in the offense of the Bears, moving from halfback to wide receiver, and McMahon just missed connections.
Gentry had been used predominantly as a receiver out of the backfield, has great hands, and is learning the maneuvers and the moves of the wide receiver position. They feel he's going to be productive, but it's going to take a little bit of time for him to adjust to that new position.
Apparently, Kevin Butler will try to kick the longest field goal in his young NFL life. 46 was the longest last year. This one would be 54 yards. Steve Fuller, backup quarterback to hold. It's got the length, but it's wide to the left. So the Bears' first attempt to score here in the second quarter, a long attempt from 54 by Butler, is wide left. It remains 21-7.
Like you're right next door. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
After the long missed field goal, the Browns take over at their own 37-yard line, trailing 21-7, and it's Kevin Mack lurching forward to the 40. Mack, who played at Clemson, was the #1 pick of the Browns in the supplemental draft, played with the LA Express of the old USFL. Steve McMichael, the tackler for Chicago. This telecast, presented by authority of the National Football League, is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Chicago Bears and the National Football League is prohibited. 2nd down and a long 7. Biner on a fake reverse, and Cozart to Mack, and Mack can't handle the pass. Would have had a first down. That's an interesting play. They gave it the reverse look and then sent Kevin Mack into the right flat, but couldn't hang on to the pass.
Kind of innovation. There's Vince Tobin. We mentioned his responsibilities as the trainer of this Bear defense. You see him signaling the defense, a quick signal, a very fundamental one. Puts the clipboard on top of his head. I don't believe that's Infante, but you see the signals will go in from the sideline over there with receivers onto the field.
3rd down and 7 inside the Browns 40. Down the middle, Brian with a catch at the 41-yard line and pays the price. Brian Brennan. Well, he's made 2 outstanding catches. He says, I'd like to pattern myself after a pretty good one up at Seattle. Steve Largent. He's made a couple of Largent plays.
Well, I got to tell you that Kosar better put a little bit of extra money in an envelope and give it to this kid. Look at that catch. Knowing he's going to take a shot at the end of it, he gets the hit from number 45, Gary Fencing. But he caught the first one well behind him, and this one is over his head. He doesn't care. He goes up and drags it down anyway.
Caught the back half of the ball at 19 yards to first down at the Bears' 40-yard line. That's Harry Holt, tight end in motion. And apparently they used more than their 30 seconds. Gives us a chance to remind our viewers that we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player for today's game. That'll come at the conclusion of this contest.
Offense, false start, number 74.
Paul Farron, the man called for that false start. This is a big offensive line for the Browns, and they've always liked the tall offensive lineman with a long reach. Talking to Mike Ditka as he looked at films of the Browns in action, and one of the things he mentioned was the size and the range of this offensive line. Their test today: give Kosar time to throw the football.
1st and 15. Kosar may be changing plays. On a blitz, he overshoots Mack.
And Dick, that defensive alignment was something that the Bears did not show all through the training camp. That's the new version of Buddy Ryan's 46 defense. They call it the Bear defense here now. They stack those three linemen in the middle, move Dent out to the outside, and about the only big adjustment you see, there you see the linemen stacked up inside. Kosar taking his time because he knew what was coming. You see the pass getting out of there just in time.
Otis Wilson.
Oof. Boy, they do come. I'll talk about that adjustment later, Dick.
Miner out on the wing to the left and Mack behind Kosar. 2nd and 15. Incomplete. In the crowd, Reggie Langhorne, Mike Singletary, closest Bear.
Again, the Bear defense employed on that play, and initially what the Bears did in the 46 defense was to put both linebackers on one side together and then bring the strong safety up on the other side. A very unusual deployment of linebackers. Now, instead of doing that, they're bringing the strong safety up on one side with one of the linebackers, leaving the other linebacker on the other side, and there are a few subtle adjustments, but basically it's still the same kind of defense.
Now they'll be teeing off here, 3rd down and 15. Kosar to Biner. What a move again by Ernest Biner, and he's close to a first down at the 32-yard line. Mike Richardson got him out of bounds.
Maybe close enough for them to try what they tried before, which was to pick up the first down on a 3rd down or 4th down situation.
Rams finally get some points on the board in that game in St. Louis, 6-0 Rams. Other scores are the same. Atlanta picks up another touchdown at New Orleans, 14-0. Well, that'll be a service I'm sure you fans will enjoy. You know that every 10 minutes you'll have all the scores here on NBC. Here it is 21-7. The Bears leading the Browns, and the Browns go for it. 4th and 1. A long one it is. 3 tight ends. It's Biner to the 30, and I believe he's got the first down.
All a matter of where they mark that football. Biner just burrowing into that mass of bodies. And they've marked the first down.
And we pause briefly from Chicago for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is KRON-TV, Channel 4, San Francisco.
Welcome back to Soldier Field in Chicago. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen. The Cleveland Browns trailing the Super Bowl defending champion Chicago Bears 21-7. 8 minutes left in the first half, but the Browns have moved the ball effectively. A kickoff return for a touchdown by the Bears and an interception for a touchdown. The difference in that 14-point lead. Biner, no gain.
On the sideline, Ozzie Newsome, and he apparently has strained his Achilles tendon. He can't really push off of that right foot, and that has got him on the sideline. They're hoping they can get him back into the game because he's a critical part of this offense, and they miss him when he's not on the field.
No NFL tight end has ever caught more, and Newsome's 503. 2nd and 11. Kosar working into the wind. Here they come. And the quick throw, and that's going to be for a possible touchdown to Webster Slaughter, out of bounds at the 1-foot line. Slaughter, the rookie from San Diego State, and that is the risk of that all-out blitz that the Bears used last year and they used in this instance. If you can make the quick hit, you've got a man one-on-one in the open, and Slaughter takes it to the 1-foot line.
You've got to find the open man. Kosar feels the pressure and gets the ball right on the money. 48, Reggie Phillips had a hold of Webster Slaughter's ankles. Watch it here as Fensick nails him on the sideline. Good call, I think, by the officials from that angle anyway. Didn't look like he was in the end zone.
29 yards for Slaughter. 1st and goal inside the 1. Biner trips over his own man, and he's down for a loss at the 2.
Wilbur Marshall, 58. Great play earlier, coming in underneath the stack and penetrating so far that he was able to take the legs right out from underneath Biner. Watch him on the right-hand side of your screen. Look at him going right underneath the stack. Looked like a mole going underneath there. Took Biner's legs right out from underneath it.
They lost 2 yards or more. The ball was on the 1-foot line. Now it's between the 2 and the 3. Mack and Biner behind Kozar. Big chance for the Browns to pull within a touchdown. They're going to go wide with Kevin Mack. And he has a touchdown. 3 yards for Kevin Mack, and it's 21-13, and Cleveland continues to impress on offense.
A very impressive drive, and they did it without Ozzie Newsome. They're probably their most valuable passing weapon. There were only 500 tickets given to the Browns. They almost had to ration those out one at a time. Browns very proud of this team. They're looking for big things.
What Kevin a block Mack. By Biner.
Oh.
Did you see Ernest Biner chop down that first defender?
Look out.
Barr tacks on the extra point, and with 6 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in the first half, it's the Chicago Bears 21 and the Cleveland Browns 14.
Browns scoring drive.
Mack scoring from 3 yards out. The Bears allowed only 6 rushing touchdowns all last season, but it took a superb play in front of Mack to clear the way. Matt Barr to kick it off into the wind. Gentry, remembered, returned one for a touchdown. This one's all the way to the 22, number 20, Thomas Sanders. Through a crowd, he's down at the 27-yard line. Let's go back to Mack's touchdown run.
2 people to watch as we turn this thing loose. You'll see Dave Duerson, number 22, and Ernest Biner. Stop it right there. That's Biner underneath, and look at the block he throws right here to clear the way for his teammate Kevin Mack. Unselfishness is the word.
Soldier Field in Chicago. You're familiar with these environs. You played here, didn't you?
Dick, I played here in 1962 in the College All-Star game. There were still pits along the sideline, and they had the benches down in them so you could look over the top of the players and not miss the action.
Jim McMahon to Emery Moorhead on a tight end screen, and he's out to the 31-yard line.
That game, by the way, had some interesting connections to this game because Otto Graham was the coach, great Hall of Famer from Cleveland, and Dick Stanfeld coached the offensive line in that game. Of course, he's the Bears' offensive line coach.
Who were some of your teammates on that College All-Star game? That was against the Packers, right?
Against the Packers, a championship Packer team, Ernie Davis. And again, a tie to the Cleveland Browns, was the #1 draft pick that year. And tragically, while we were here getting ready for that game, discovered that he had leukemia and never did have a chance to play for the Browns.
Davis is one of those retired by the Cleveland organization, number 45. Ooh, look out. Man with a trouble with a snap, and Calvin Thomas, number 33, in the backfield for the Bears, able to get perhaps a yard. Sam Clancy, 91, a great basketballer at the University of Pittsburgh, playing defensive end for the Browns, and they really are excited about his potential.
Gymnastics here as McMahon really never got a hold of that snap from Hilgenberg, but was able to get it down and hand it off to Calvin Thomas. But boy, that's scary. And you know, that's something that Ditka has talked to his team about. He said, you've got to concentrate. We've got to get ready. We've got to get down to doing the things that we did last year to go through that 15-1 season.
Going long for Gentry, and he's well covered by 37. And now a flag comes down from an official on the far side as Chris Rockins running with Dennis Gentry, and I wonder if in this discussion they're going to say, was that ball catchable?
Rockins, as you know, replaced Don Rogers, who died so tragically during the offseason. Rockins, although not as physical a player, they say is more talented physically than Rogers as an athlete. He is running as the Browns do in a bump and run situation. They really live or die with those cornerbacks, and let's see it right here on the right-hand side, and there's no question there is contact. Now, The rule now states that if both men are going for the ball, and you see the official who was right there running with the two of them.
The ball could not be caught.
All right, that's exactly what you said, Dick.
It was not a catchable ball. There was contact. But the official on the far side calling the penalty could not see from his angle that that was a ball.
But I would agree with the official call because Rockins made the contact before his head turned back towards the ball. Had that ball been catchable, I think you would have seen a second flag, and that would have stood as an interference call.
Well, those 10 minutes roll around, but it's a nice service, isn't it? Washington now leads Philadelphia. The Rams still in front. Houston, 14-3. Maury Buford to punt for the first time. The icebox.
Ooh,
the ice
not
cube.
a good snap.
And they run into him, and that'll be a penalty. McNeil at the other end at the 30, and the 140-pounder is wrapped up at the 29, but we're going to have to go back for the penalty as Buford, as they tried to block the punt, was hit by one of the Browns defenders.
They could see that Maury Buford was in trouble with the snap. Number 59, Mike Johnson, young linebacker that they're very enthusiastic about, felt that he could get to the ball. He only got to the punter.
On a defense, running into the kicker, number 59. That's 5, and that's a first down.
Mike Johnson, who played with the Stars in the USFL.
Watch Buford go up for that ball. Now, had that ball bounced on the ground, we wouldn't have seen the call here. But it really didn't take Buford out of the flow. And even though Mike Johnson is trying to avoid the kicker, you see Bill Cowher, the special teams coach, talking to him there, and he's just trying to say, hey, look, I know what you were trying to do. It's going to be all right. Rookies get emotional, Dick, and I guess you've got to be emotional to play this game, but you've also got to remember, if you make a mistake, you got to put it behind you and go on to the next play.
Short memory really works well, especially for a defender. From the 38-yard line of the first down, McMahon over the middle, incomplete, intended for Calvin Thomas. He thought he was interfered with. And there goes a flag down against the Browns for roughing McMahon again. Flag down, or unless it's holding against the Bears.
I believe it is against the Browns.
On the defense, 57. Late hit on the quarterback.
Clay Matthews, the linebacker, 15 yards against the Browns. Suddenly, Cleveland, their own worst enemy. They could have had the ball on the punt, but ran into the kicker.
You don't want to self-destruct on defense. There's the pass. 1, 2. Well late of the time that they're going to forgive you for whacking into that quarterback. And even though Matthews held him up at the end of it, you've got to lay off that quarterback when you're that far away and the ball leaves.
Here it's 21-14. The Bears leading the Browns with 4 minutes, 5 seconds left. And a wide open first half. Some big plays in this initial game of the 67th NFL year. On the Browns 47. Play action, and the flag is down, and the pass incomplete. No penalty. Now another penalty as Chip Banks. Now, that one appeared like he was in the grasp, and that was a tough call.
It wasn't a matter of timing on that one. I think it was what Banks did to McMahon after he got him down toward the ground.
The Browns now in an ugly series of penalty followed by penalty.
The strange feeling
Legal
that
formation 29. I got 15 for roughing the quarterback. 15-yard penalty will be penalized. It'll be from the previous spot, 15 yards and first down.
A personal foul, a penalty which endangers the health of the athlete, takes precedent over a minor call, the illegal motion. That's 79 yards now, and penalties against the Browns, only 5 for Chicago.
Watch Banks at the top of your screen, number 56. He's there in time. They forgive him the initial hit, but he can't go to the head. And you saw the arm to the head right there. He also followed through and drilled him into the ground. But boy, I tell you, the Cleveland Browns, who have made one great play right after another, giving that ball and the yardage back plus some with their penalties.
4 minutes left in the half. First down at the Browns 32. 3 plays, 3 penalties on this drive. Hence the punt. How about Walter Payton? Let's try him up the middle, and he's to the 28. McMahon probably happy to get rid of the ball the way every time he goes back to pass, they're all over him. They must have read his new book.
One of the great... They didn't like it either. Huh? There are a few people in Chicago not too pleased with McMahon's work as an author.
Including the chief executive officer, Mr. McCaskey.
One of the concerns about McMahon is his durability. McMahon, of course, has missed a number of games 2 years ago in a Raider game. Lacerated kidney put him out for the season. Last year, missed some flying time with a knee injury. He's not afraid to put himself at risk, and he's the kind of quarterback that can go down at any time.
As you see, when he starts, the Bears win 17 in a row. That'll be against Chicago. It appeared that Keith Van Horn, the big right tackle, pulled off the line of scrimmage prematurely.
Student body right. They were pulling them off.
False start, 78.
It was Van Horn, who is also a late night and weekend disc jockey at a Chicago rock station. I mean, everyone has enjoyed the benefits of that Super Bowl victory. How a big city has wrapped its arms around and adored a group of athletes like the Bears. I mean, they still, even how much time has gone by, months and months, it's still as if it was yesterday, the way these fans savor that Super Bowl win.
I don't think I've ever seen a city, and I'm talking about even smaller cities like Green Bay in their heyday, who still were so much involved with the fortunes of a football team as Chicago is now with these Bears.
Second down and 11. It's Calvin Thomas teaming with Payton. Play action and a screen. McMahon now will go long and incomplete. Moorhead out of bounds, even though he was knocked out of bounds by Clay Matthews. They say he would not have stayed in bounds had he not been hit. That was veteran Carl Hairston putting pressure on the quarterback, McMahon.
And that really is the strength of a Jim McMahon, though. The ability to take a play, and the play was broken. McMahon was under pressure, able to do some improvising back there, and almost came up with the big completion on the sideline. I'll tell you, that is a special ability for a quarterback. Watch him here. It's apparent that the man he wants is not open. I think a little screen pass, and the man was down. He gets away from Hairston. Big Daddy couldn't bring him down, and McMahon used his running ability to get outside and find the receiver. Unfortunately, incomplete.
As 91, Sam Clancy also had a piece of the jersey. Third and 11, going for it all. And a little bump along the sidelines, but no penalty flag. Mark Harper covering Ken Marjoram.
Harper may be in there for Hanford Dixon. You mentioned his thigh problems. They trust him. They say we'll run the same defenses until we get burned. I'll tell you, this is a unique defense, this Cleveland defense. They really put the pressure, much like the Los Angeles Raiders, on those two cornerbacks. They say, hey, we're going to challenge you, bump and run, man to man. And they can do a lot of things defensively because of that other teams in the league are not able to do.
50-yard attempt by Butler. It would be his longest. He missed from 54 earlier in this period.
Bad snap.
Partially blocked. That's a returnable ball, but goes into the end zone, and the touchback for Cleveland.
That's the second time we've seen a bad snap on that particular kind of play, and on that occasion, we're not able to get it down on the ground in time.
Well, it's 21-14. The Browns, who suffered the tragedy this summer, the death of Don Rogers, another tragedy this weekend. Chuck Fisher, the assistant publicist, killed in an accident with a train in Cleveland. We send our sympathies to his young family, and a memorial fund will be started in his honor.
Watch Jimbo Covert here, number 74. He's going to drive in thinking that Clay Matthews is inside. Matthews is going to break outside, and because of the bad snap, is going to have a chance to get in and get his hands on that football. Of course, because that ball would have turned over at the line of scrimmage, that's where the Browns will take it over, out on the 32.5-yard line.
Jay Schrader, a couple of touchdown passes. The Redskins lead the Eagles now by 10. Those are the other scores on our 10-minute ticker. Here it's 21-14. The Browns trail Chicago. 2 minutes, 24 seconds remaining in the first half. And Steve McMichael, who says and admits that he's mean. He says, I go after every guy like he just called my mom a bad name. Well, he had to wait to the snap on that one, and unless it was drawn offside, it'll be 5 against the Bears.
Defense come across, made contact, number 76.
Rattlesnake Hunter, Steve McMichael.
He's got a new responsibility on that Bears team. They kept only 2 tight ends, and he now has been given the responsibility of being the 3rd tight end on short yardage. He said, hey, I kind of like that. Hasn't done it since he was collegiate at Texas, playing on the offensive side, and he's pleased at having a new job.
So I'm nodding his head. He was not agreeing with the call. He was saying that the Browns were using a head fake to pull him offside. Kozar and Richardson will pick up the penalty. Hit him before the ball arrived. Webster Slaughter, the receiver for Cleveland. You saw the Browns have been very successful, or at least compared to how tough it was to work the ball against the Bear defense last year. The Browns have moved the football.
Interference number 27, and that's a first down.
Well, if you ask Mike Ditka and Vince Tobin where their concerns are with the defense, one of the mentions that they get is for the cornerbacks. They're concerned. They lost Leslie Frazier for the year, fine cornerback. He and Richardson had been the starters last year. Richardson, a bit of a free spirit, and one of those guys who will make the big plays, but he also will tend to make some mistakes. That obviously was one of them.
First down at the Browns 44. Defensive comes right up on the line of scrimmage. Kozar off the knees of Brennan, and a flag is down where you would suspect holding.
Kozar to Brennan.
There it is. Ben Bryce confirms 10 yards against Cleveland. Stops the clock with 2:13 left in this half. In case you joined us late, it started early with the first ever instant replay touchdown. They used the instant replay to decide that Al Gross had recovered a fumble in the Bears' end zone for a Cleveland touchdown. On the ensuing kickoff, Dennis Gentry rambled 91 yards for a touchdown to make it 7-all. Walter Payton, a 2-yard touchdown, 14-7 Chicago. Then Wilbur Marshall picked off a Bernie Kozar pass, went 58 yards to make it 21-7. And here in this quarter, 2 missed field goals by Butler of the Bears from long range, and the Browns put together a touchdown scoring drive of 63 yards with Kevin Mack scoring from 3 yards out, 21-14 as we stand. Kozar chased by Hampton, a screen to Kevin Mack with blockers, 30, 40, Mack the fullback out to the 48-yard line. And Kozar just did get that one around Big Dan Hampton.
Of course, that's what you're trying to do on that particular kind of a play, is invite the defensive linemen in, get them in, and then throw it over their heads for the quick screen.
And that comes at the 2-minute timeout, 21-14 Bears. Hard play we just saw.
Kozar can feel Danimal on his neck. One thing you have to see here. Watch the block. Freeze it right there. There is number 74, Paul Farron. Now watch what he does on this play. Wilbur Marshall's legs right up into the air, able to open the way for Kevin Mack. Very fine game.
There were 2 minutes left in the first half. The Browns have it 2nd down and 7. Just shy of midfield. Kozar underneath to Slaughter at the 50-yard line. That won't be enough for a first down. They'll mark progress to the Bears 49, where it'll be 3rd and 3.
Dick, you mentioned the kind of yardage the Bears are apparently giving up, and I think that's something you're going to see, because Vince Tobin's philosophy is not to play as aggressively on the line and to play more zone defenses. His philosophy, again, is to try and make fewer errors on the whole, but basically that will mean they may give up a few more yards in the process.
Timeout with 1 minute and 34 seconds left in the half by the U.S. Army. Bernie Kozar on 3rd and 3. He's 11 for 17 in this half for 144 yards. One of the completions to himself. Kozar over the middle. Almost intercepted by Dave Duerson. He threw it behind Clarence Weathers. He didn't have a real good view of the field. He had a better look at Todd Bell, who was right on top of him.
Duerson, of course, in his first full year as a starter, who got his chance to start because Bell was in a holdout because of the contract, almost had that ball in his hands. Of course, Dewerson ended up in the Pro Bowl last year. Remarkable story.
1:29 left in the half, and Gossett sends a beautiful spiral toward Dave Dewerson, who will let it kick into the end zone for the touchback. So the Bears, with 1:19 left in this first half, will have a chance from their own 20-yard line in a 21-14 game. Bears lead by 7.
Constant search for information, and players and coaches will use anything they can get their hands on. These are the Polaroid shots sent quickly from the booth upstairs down to the field. Players will look at those, coaches will look at them to see what kind of alignments the other team is using. And of course, that's a chance for them to talk about adjustments, what they need to do to cope with those particular defenses.
Now, that was an offensive lineman, Tom Thayer. Defensively, did you look at Polaroids, or was that you too old?
That's way before our time. No, we actually had them, Dick. We
had to go down to the
We didn't have them on the
phone.
sideline. The coaches used them upstairs. We never got them on the sideline.
You got them Wednesday when they were developed. From the 20. McMahon out of the shotgun.
Look out.
Chip Banks gets away from Banks and will run it. For 6 yards. Make it 5 to the 25. Stops the clock.
Again, I think that's an indication that Banks would have had a chance, I think, had his instincts been at the max. But after only a week in camp, he's not able to make that adjustment.
And you're updated on the other scores, the early games here in this first week of the NFL season. Of course, you'll get the details on those games. NFL 86, which will follow. You'll see that Raiders music video. Later, we'll also show you the new edition of the Bears music video.
When are we going to do our video, Dick?
See, the demand hasn't been really strong so far.
They haven't been calling me. I don't know what it is.
Second down and 5 with 1:12 left. McMahon, no one open, so he'll run it again, and there's lots of room. 30, 40, and out of bounds at the 46. And then stepping out of bounds, ran over his own man, went down. Willie Gault.
Willie was coming back to help. Al Gross looked like he might be coming up. Willie was trying to keep him out of the way, ended up cutting McMahon to the ground. Well, that's the kind of thing you hate to see. Would be a quarterback injured by one of his own players. Watch the end of the play here. Al Gross backs off, number 27, who's coming up. And Willie, who thought he was going to block Gross, ended up cutting McMahon's legs out from underneath him.
Well, Walter Payton has gained 39 yards in the half, and McMahon has 25 on those last 2 runs.
That's embarrassing for a defense. McMahon able to coast to that kind of yardage, and with 1 minute and 2 left, the Bears now have excellent field position to try and get some more.
Give to Dennis Gentry. Boy, does he accelerate. He's to the Browns' 47-yard line. An 8-yard gain. Al Gross made the tackle. And the Bears will spend a timeout, stopping the clock with 52 seconds remaining. They have 2 more left. Oh, that Gentry. Did you see him just kind of eased his way out there and then kicked it into high gear? It is that kind of quickness and acceleration that excites Mike Ditka, moving Gentry out of the backfield and as a wide receiver, although he served in his more comfortable halfback position on that play.
Talking to Ed Hughes, one of the points that he made, which I thought was very appropriate, he said, you know, with Walter Payton in the backfield, every one of our backs tries to emulate what Walter does, which means that they get the maximum out of them in practice, and it also means that they are always in great condition. That's the kind of example you'd like to have, I think, at every position, if you were fortunate enough to have someone blessed with the talent and enthusiasm and the dedication of a Walter Payton.
They talk along the sidelines. The expression used by Coach Mike Ditka throughout this summer season has been, "Are you satisfied?" And of course, as we well know, it's been difficult to repeat a Super Bowl champion, and despite the fact that the Bears will be the heavy favorites to repeat, so were the 49ers, and so were the Redskins, and so were the Raiders. How many people can say they're the best? Are you satisfied? And Ditka says that was my theme last night in the meeting before the game, that here you have a chance. Once you've been the best, you have a chance to repeat that. How many can say that?
Well, he wants to be like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really proved that they were good enough to go back again and again.
4 wins in the 70s. McMahon complete to Suey, And he is drilled after a short gain at the 42-yard line, clock running.
Al Gross, the man on top of him, he tried to hold him down so he couldn't get back to the huddle.
McMahon does not use a timeout. 35 seconds, 6 yards on that play, and the first down at the 41. With 29 seconds left, McMahon to the sideline. Suey gets out of bounds with a 4-yard gain.
Stops the clock, most importantly, and of course that's what you want to do. Pick up some yardage, but get that clock stopped.
21-14 Chicago. The Bears trying to get at least in field goal range. Kevin Butler has tried from 50 and 54 yards in this quarter and has the wind at his back, and they're very nearly within his range. Bears also with the 2 timeouts. Hanford Dixon is at the right corner on the far side. Frank Minifield bump and run here on the near side. They may test Dixon with Galt.
Oh, another bad snap.
And somehow McMahon gets away and throws it incomplete. Boy, that's a terrific job by McMahon to extricate himself and save a timeout with that throw.
One of the risks of that shotgun or spread formation is that you've got to snap that ball blind. Jay Hilgenberg, who has done it many times to McMahon, now with 2 bad snaps. The first one not so bad, except that it came when McMahon was looking to his left. That one was just a bad snap.
Yeah, the Hilgenberg clan, the group of centers, they say they have a family reunion. They say hello to each other by looking between their legs. Shake hands.
I got to tell you, though, offensive linemen have got a pretty rough life. We only mention them usually when they make a mistake, when they're holding someone or they make a bad snap. That's unfair. That's a great line down there.
Sad but true. We have seen some fine blocks today, though, however. Here's Payton. They gave him the pass look and gave it to Payton, who's to the 30-yard line. And with 14 seconds left, a timeout Chicago. 7 more yards for Payton. Frank Minifield made the tackle.
Maybe one more shot before they'll give Butler a chance here. Dick, this is an interesting time of the year for these teams. And in some ways, this is the happiest time of the year as you look at Kevin Butler's stats, because every team in the league is undefeated. Everybody's on equal footing. It's really, and they've made the roster. No more cut downs as of right now. Everybody feels that they've got a shot at the Super Bowl. Of course, these two teams, having been playoff teams, and the Bears, the defending champion, know they have a shot at it. But even the lowly teams at this time of the year feel that they've got a chance to go back. It's a time when every city that has NFL football kind of feels, hey, maybe this is our year, too.
Well, look at what happened in Buffalo just with the signing of Jim Kelly. Suddenly a game that might have attracted 40, 45,000 sold out 80,000 against the New York Jets. Some of you will see that as the second half of our doubleheader on NBC. And be sure to stay with us. This is a twin bill for you as we open our 1986 season. The Bears trying to open up the lead. They have a 7-point advantage and 14 seconds in which to try to get more. They've moved from their own 20-yard line down to the Browns' 30. 1 timeout left for Chicago. That is the official clock you see in the window. Going for Suey, and very nearly a remarkable play by the veteran from Penn State, Anthony Griggs, the linebacker, on the coverage. 8 seconds left.
You love to isolate the running backs on the linebackers, and Anthony Griggs straining for everything it's worth. Looks like he may have pulled a muscle. You see him right there holding his hand up. He's headed to the sideline. The Browns will have to send someone in his place, but he was giving it everything he had. Suey able to still get free and almost made that catch.
47-yard attempt by Kevin Butler. It's long enough, and it's good. With 3 seconds remaining in the first half, Kevin Butler, the NFL's leading scorer last year, drills home 3 to pad the Bear lead to 10.
Bears step out to a comfortable lead, although we've still got an awful lot of football to play here, and the Browns I think the thing I've been most impressed with in this first half is their ability to move the ball offensively. I think that they are apparently on the right track with what they're doing under Lindy Infante offensively, using the strength of their running game, mixing in a nice variety of passes and formations, and at the same time they're hoping that they can play a little tougher defense in the second half.
Well, in special teams too, Merlin. They were the best in the NFL last year in special teams, but gave up a kickoff return by Gentry, 91 yards for a touchdown.
You know, it's great irony because last night when I talked to Marty Schottenheimer, he said, I have a feeling that tomorrow's game may be decided by the special teams. Everybody's talking about the great Bear defense, but I think we may have to get the edge on special teams. He was talking about them getting it. And so far, it hasn't been the way.
Well, he wanted to play the best, and he got the Bears as his opener, and he indeed will have a measuring stick for how his team is readied for this year. 8-8 last season, but won that Central Division of the AFC and very nearly knocked off Miami. They had that 21-3 lead down at the Orange Bowl, only to see Miami win it in the second half, 24-21 in the playoffs. Last play, unless there's a penalty. Butler to Gerald McNeil. Here comes the Ice Cube. Well, he's down at the 23. Dan Raines made the tackle for Chicago, and with it the end of the first half. And their sun-baked crowd, 60-degree temperatures on a magnificent Chicago afternoon, sees the defending Super Bowl champions return and bring with them some big plays in this first half. A kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown, and a 24-14 lead. We'll be back after these words. Heiner.